up, it's showtime. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Oh, they don't know. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. I'm wearing Cuban.
What is going on, everyone? My name is Matt, and welcome back to 3 and Out. It is Wednesday, the middle of the week, so you know what that means. It is time for our midweek mix sports podcast. On today's show, what I'm going to go over is the NFL trade deadline. What an amazing trade deadline it was. We normally don't get this in the NFL, so I want to go over 4 big moves that I think that could change the landscape of the NFL. Being it's the midweek mix, we're also going to do our power rankings for this week of the NFL. And always what I do to finish off these shows is give you the big games heading into this weekend in college football and the NFL. Now let's get right into this. And what a NFL trade deadline that we just witnessed. Now you normally get this in the NBA and in baseball. You don't normally see this in the NFL where there's a lot of big name moves, a lot of trades to begin with. So there was 4 that I want to highlight that I think the teams that got these players tremendously improved, or it will change the way teams will go into the future. So first, I think one of the biggest moves, not getting a lot of love because it's in the trenches, Dwayne Brown going to Seattle for some draft picks from Houston. Now, it's a huge pickup. Seattle has an awful offensive line, and this helps solidify this. They can now move the line around, jumble some matchups, have him as their left tackle, and he'll be the statue there that's always going to be there, and it really helps the running game. A lot of people think of Seattle, and they think that they're going to run the ball, pound it out, and then they're going to go out and play defense and win games, and they haven't been able to do that. They've had to throw the ball a lot. And it's uncharacteristic for a team like Seattle. So they're going to be able to now effectively run the ball as long as they can figure out who they want as their running back. Also, it protects Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was getting killed. He was running for his life back there. He was getting hit a lot. And Russell Wilson's not the biggest dude, so you really didn't want him taking a lot of hits. I feel like this is going to solidify that offensive line for Seattle, and they're going to be a very scary team moving forward. The second biggest trade, in my opinion, would be the Benjamin trade to the Bills. Now, it was for a 3rd round and a 7th round pick, and I just don't understand this in Carolina's perspective. It's not like they're falling out of the playoff race. It's not like Kelvin Benjamin was a big distraction for that team. I know he's going to get paid here, not this year, but next year, but it just seemed a little rushed to me. They didn't really need to do that right now. But for the Buffalo Bills, an absolutely just monumental trade for them. Now, they got a lot of stuff they got a lot of bad talk, bad press about getting rid of Sammy Watkins in the offseason. It seems to work out. They're one of the better teams in the NFL, but what they lacked was big playability from their wide receivers. Now, a lot of that can come down to injury. Jordan Matthews hasn't played a lot, and he's tend to have been a guy that can stretch the defense a little bit. But now you're going to have him as your second receiver with Benjamin out there. Now, I'll tell you this. The Bills receivers, right? Their number 1 receiver was LaShawn McCoy, their running back. He had 38 catches for 242 yards. Their best wide receiver, and again, I know this is injuries have a reason for this, but Jordan Matthews had 15 catches for 193 yards. That's it. Also, what Kelvin Benjamin does is 20-plus yard pass plays. The Bills had 3 out of their receiving core all year. Benjamin has 4. So I think this is going to expand that offense, being able to open up just a little bit. Now, I know that they're going to still run the ball. They're going to give the ball, feed LaShawn is what they're going to do there. But this adds a dimension that they didn't have, and it makes them a very scary and dangerous team moving forward. Now, the third trade that I think that's going to help out, and I think there's a multiple reason for this, Jay Ajayi going to Philly for a 4th round pick. Now, something doesn't seem right here. A 4th round pick for a guy of Ajayi's status, I don't get. So I think there's a little bit more underneath the surface there in Miami. I think maybe he was just not fitting with what Gase wanted to do, their coach down there, Adam Gase. But there are some knee concerns, and that was well known out of the draft, and he hasn't really shown that he's had any kind of knee problems going forward right now. But I think what this does for Philadelphia, it gives them a 3rd running back that is going to be able to help them. They've been ground and pound, this team. They will run the ball, play defense, and Wentz will make the timely throws when need be, and it makes Carson Wentz that much better because now you have LeGarrette Blount. You have Jay Ajayi. You have Wendell Smallwood. That's three very competitive and running backs there that's really going to help this team going forward. And I also think what it did, I don't know this for sure, but Dallas losing Zeke, maybe even looking for a running back. They went up and snagged Ajayi before Dallas could even make that call. So it's an addition plus another subtraction from one of your rivals that has a chance of competing with you in the division. And finally, I think this trade is more for the next couple years. Jimmy Garoppolo going to the 49ers for a second-round draft pick. Now, the Pats held on to Jimmy G as long as they could. Like, they needed to make sure that Tom Brady was able to withstand the season in his being 40 plus years old right now, and they couldn't strike a long-term deal at a price that New England felt was comfortable. So they went ahead, dealt them the 49ers. Now what this does for the San Francisco 49ers too is now they don't necessarily need to take a quarterback in the top of the first round. They'll either be able to take maybe a Saquon Barkley type player, another offensive explosion type guy to add with Garoppolo, or be able to trade down, gather some more picks and assets so this team can then go out and pursue more. You know, they need some offensive line help. They need another big time receiver there. And I know they have a good tight end in Kittle there. So and Hyde as a running back. They're going to look to improve their offense and also get some more defensive pieces there. I don't think that this changes the landscape for this year, but San Francisco not being in the market for a quarterback next offseason when the draft comes really makes me think of what they're going to do, and it's a very compelling story there. So there you have it. Those are my 4 big moves from the NFL trade deadline. That's most of the time. That is a off-season's worth of move. We got that in about a 36-hour span. And now moving on to quite possibly what is my favorite segment in any show I do. I say this every week. I really love getting into this. The NFL Power Rankings, my top 10 NFL teams heading into this weekend football game. So without further ado, I just want to get right into it. My number 10 team is the Minnesota Vikings. They're 6-2 right now. Their schedule has helped them. They've gotten, in the last 4 games, Green Bay without Rodgers, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Chicago. Not really murderer's row when it comes to the NFL teams. But then again, they are doing this on their second quarterback, and their prize draft pick, Dalvin Cook, is out for the season, and they're still churning out wins, playing really good defensive football, and they're still running the ball very well, and McKinnon is kind of resurrecting what he had. He's showed flashes over the last 3 years, but he's now becoming more of the feature back there, and also Latavius Murray is playing very well for that team, so they're running the ball, mistake-free. It seems to be the theme this year in the NFL. Run the ball, play good defense, and mistake-free football on the offensive end. Now, I know that's a recipe to win a lot of games, and it's been around since the beginning of football. But in this new age of, pass, they're able to run the ball, not turn the ball over, and win games with their defense. Speaking of which, my number 9 team are the Carolina Panthers. Now, the defense will carry this team as far as they want. And as long as this offense doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to win games. The formula for the Carolina Panthers to win is defense plus run the ball plus no turnovers equals a win. This is one of the most dominating defenses we have out there. And when they lose games, they turn the ball over, and they turn the ball over a lot. They can overcome maybe 1-2 possible turnovers. But I just don't know what this team's doing. They lost Calvin Benjamin, so Funchess is going to have to step up. They have a good tight end in Dixon there. I wonder what they're going to do with McCaffrey and Samuel. It's kind of a confusing time for me with the Panthers, but they are winning games. So I want them. I'm going to keep them in my top 10 at number 9. And the number 8 team, I'm very high on this team right now, the Buffalo Bills. Now they're 5-2, and they had a dominating win, 34-14 over Oakland. I know a lot of times you get those West Coast teams come over to the East Coast. Weather's kind of changing a little bit. They're not used to it. And then they're playing at 1 o'clock, which is, 10 a.m. on their body time for where they're out on the West Coast. But it's still a very impressive win against Oakland. Tyrod Taylor's playing lights out. Feed LaShawn. That is my new catchphrase there. I love LaShawn McCoy's game. I feel like that he fits this offense perfectly, this team perfectly. And now add the addition of Calvin Benjamin, I expect big plays on offense. This again, and I say this every week when I have them in there, they're a 9-10 win team and a dark horse AFC playoff team in my opinion. The number 7 team, now the people have a little bit more have them higher on their rankings. To me, I still have them quite high. Number 7 team. A lot of people have them like 2, 3 are the Los Angeles Rams. Now, they just came off a bye. They won 33-0 against Arizona 2 weeks ago, and that's a dominating win. Arizona, they're not the best of teams, but still 33-0 is really good. The one thing that the Rams are doing that they didn't do at the beginning of the season, their last 3 games, they're averaging, the defense is only giving up 11 points per game. They can score. So that's a formula. They're going to score 25 to 35 points a game. So if they're holding teams to 11 points, they're going to be lights out. Now, they're coming off the bye. They get the Giants this week. I think their schedule sets up for 9 to 10 wins, and this can be a team that might be looking at a possible playoff spot in the NFC where nobody gave them a chance, including myself. The number 6 team I have is the New Orleans Saints. They're 5-2. They've won 5 straight. The key to the success of the New Orleans Saints this year has been running the football. Now, we're used to the Saints. They're indoors, throw, the big play, Brees throwing for 5,000 plus yards. But when this team is clicking on all cylinders, they're running the ball. This last week, they had 58 total plays on offense, which is, I think, a little low for what the Saints normally do anyway. 30 of them were runs. So they're putting a lot of trust in Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Now, and also the defense is coming around. This is a totally redesigned team for what you think the Saints are, and they're very dangerous because they can score, but if they can stop and they can stop teams on defense, but also control the ball. It reminds me a lot of what Dallas did last year, where they just fed Zeke. They kept the ball on offense longer. They had more time of possession. Their defense was fresher, able to make big plays. I really love what they're doing there in New Orleans. My number 5 team, and right now a very dangerous team, is the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Wilson's playing at an MVP level, and then getting Brown will help that running game, which I think is going to, in turn, help this team defensively. But their defense is kind of been a little questionable lately, and I'm not really sold 100% yet on the Seattle team. But right now they're playing one of the best football they've played all year, and I have them, again, as my number 5 team. And number 4, we have the New England Patriots. It's rinse and repeat with this team. The one thing that we always do every year with the New England Patriots in the first month is we overreact because we think I don't know if we want them to be bad or we just think, it can't do this again. So we overreact to their defense. Now, defense at the beginning of the year, I think they might have tried to do a few things that were uncharacteristic, and Matt Patricia said, you know what, we're going back to basics. They're playing a lot of zone covers, a lot of cover 3, cover 4, cover 2 type zone. But they're also playing a brand of defense with the cover 2 man underneath. So now they're eliminating big plays and they're keeping it in front of them. And also they're tackling. It's a novel concept. You tackle the ball carrier in front of you, you're going to stop teams on defense. So I have them as my number 4 team, and I really feel like this team has a chance to be an AFC contender like they always are. My number 3 team are the Kansas City Chiefs. Alex Smith, 16 touchdowns, no picks. That's all you need to know. This team is the quintessential run the ball, play good defense, and don't turn the ball over. But Alex Smith is more than that. And it showed in a couple games this year where the defense was not playing lights out. And Alex Smith had to go out and win games. And he's doing that. He's not a game manager. He's a winner. And I think people need to start realizing that. And this team is, again, very dangerous. I know they had a couple weeks where they didn't play that well. I just think it was bad matchups. This week against Denver on Monday Night Football, they utterly dominated that game defensively, and Alex Smith did what Alex Smith does. In fact, the only interception thrown is by Tyreek Hill, who's a wide receiver. So I really enjoy what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. My number 2 team is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they got an expected win against the 49ers team. They're flying high. They're running the ball really well. It's the same thing I say about this team every week. Their defense is good. They're running the ball. Carson Wentz is playing at a level that I don't think a lot of people in Philadelphia even saw that he can play at. You think Alex Smith when you think of Carson Wentz, he's not. And I mean, when I say about Alex Smith is what you thought about him when they got drafted as a game manager, but we've already debunked that. But the one thing about this, they're running the ball, and they're the best third down team in football. They're the best third down team on offense, and they're the best third down team on defense. So for them, I still am not 100% sold. Peters going out with the injury. You didn't really see much of the San Francisco really didn't pressure Wentz much. They don't have the personnel to challenge him. We'll see here in the next couple of weeks if they can deal without their all-pro left tackle Peters there. And finally, my number one team, again, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they are still playing great defense. And when they're playing defense at a high level with the offensive weapons that they have, this team is extraordinarily dangerous. Roethlisberger goes through this once or twice a year where you think, well, man, he must be done. But he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's very good at managing the game. He's also really good at knowing when to get Antonio Brown into the game, when to get Le'Veon Bell into the game. And now what he's doing is getting their new offensive explosive weapon, Juju Smith-Schuster, into the game. The rich get richer in Pittsburgh, and this team continues to grow. I really do feel like they're the favorites in the AFC to represent them in the Super Bowl. All right, guys, now moving on to the final part of the show, the final segment where I give you the marquee matchups in college football and the NFL this upcoming weekend. Starting it all off, I have number 5, Oklahoma, traveling to number 11, Oklahoma State. Defense optional. I expect 40-plus points for both these teams. There's going to be a lot of points. Classic Big 12, no defense matchup here. Second game I have this weekend, number 19, LSU, at number 2, Alabama. Expect the complete opposite from the first game I just gave you. I expect a low-scoring game, like 21-17 type game. Alabama's trying to prove that they're still the number one team in the country in most of everyone's eyes, and they want to see that number one next to their name next weekend. And then finally, I have number 13, Virginia Tech, at number 10, Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida is undefeated, but they're still ranked number 10. There's a reason they really haven't played anybody this year. A big win against a highly ranked team in Virginia Tech there will certainly get the committee's attention and move them up in the rankings if they can pull this win out. I do think that the defense on these was going to make the difference within this game either way. And then my non-ranked matchup of the weekend will be a little bit of hashtag Maction. There'll be a Friday night game where we have 6-2 Northern Illinois at 7-1 Toledo. Now, for me, I know this game is going to determine who wins the MAC West and represents that side of the conference in the MAC title game. But Toledo, on the cusp of being ranked already, has a chance to not only represent the MAC and win their MAC title, but also might have an outside chance of being one of those teams that can get into the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve games, big bowl games, and they can represent the Group of 5 conference there if they can be the highest ranked team. And this win will be one of those ones that can help them catapult themselves into the national spotlight. They have some really good, talented playmakers in Deontay Johnson, wide receiver, with 8 touchdown catches this year. And they also have a good running back in Terry Swanson, 730 yards, 8 touchdowns for them. They score and score a lot. The one thing that Northern Illinois does better than any team in the MAC is they don't give up points. They only give up 18 points per game. And this is going to be one of those classic, power on power, which team is going to come, which is going to be offense or defense. I'm very interested to see. I do think Toledo will win this game, but it's going to be a very interesting matchup that you probably didn't think of a lot before this, but that's why I do this for you. I do these non-ranked games of the week, weekend, week, whatever, so that you can see different aspects of the country and not only just rely on those big-time matchups in the Power 5 conferences. Now, in the NFL, not a lot this weekend. We have Kansas City at the Cowboys. It'll be very interesting because the Cowboys don't have Zeke, blah, blah, blah. But I like to see Kansas City go to another good team and see if they can come out and victorious on the road. And we also have 2 other ones that I think just have future playoff implications in Atlanta traveling to Carolina. You don't want to lose this game for either one of those because you don't want to fall too far behind the New Orleans Saints, who are playing great football right now. But also in the NFC, a lot of teams are in that 4 to 6 win range, and you don't want to keep falling further and further back from that because you really don't want to be trying to make up wins later in the season. And also we have Baltimore at Tennessee. I know it's not an attractive matchup, but Ravens are 4-4, the Titans are 4-3, and I know the Titans still have a chance of winning their division, but this can very well come be one of those times where you look back at the season at a head-to-head matchup that changed the playoff landscape for that last spot. And if you have the Ravens and Titans sitting there right around that 9, maybe 8-9 win range, you're going to sit back and go like, well, this was a huge game and a turning point for all that. So those are my big games. We have Oklahoma State, LSU, Alabama, Va-Tech, Miami, Florida, Northern Illinois, Toledo, and then in the NFL, you have Kansas City at Dallas, Atlanta at Carolina, and Baltimore at Tennessee. All right, everyone, that is it for today's show. Another midweek mix done and dusted. Now, what I need from all of you listening right now, get in the comment section below. Let me know if I missed on any big trades that you think will be a big difference maker coming forward in the NFL season this year or next. Also, do you agree with my top 10 power rankings in the NFL for this week? Let me know what yours are. Also, in the comment section below, I know they say this every week, there's a Twitter, Instagram, YouTube channel. Go over there, like, follow, share. I really appreciate you guys when you guys do that for me. So those are my 3 topics today, guys, and I'm out. Peace!